Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Security Expo podcast series where we talk to some of Australia's leading thought leaders in security. And today we are talking with Daisy Wong. Daisy is the Head of Security Awareness at Medibank. Daisy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, Daisy, Head of Security Awareness, I'm surprised that's a role that more organisations don't actually have, because most of us who've worked in this industry for long enough know that any sort of security campaign around awareness tends to last about 2 weeks and then everyone just becomes blind to it and you need to constantly keep updating it. Tell us a little bit about your role and your journey into the security industry.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I couldn't agree with you more, John. It's the fate of my existence that there's no more versions of me in the industry. I think we've come a long way since 10 years ago when I joined, but we've still got a long way to go. But so like you said, I'm the Head of Security Awareness at Medibank. I joined last year in July. And my remit is to help lift the security awareness and culture and ultimately change behaviours of our employees and hopefully expand my remit as well to our customers and members. So what I mean by that is I want to help our employees and customers, be able to understand more about security threats and risks and then better protect themselves and obviously our organisation as well.
Excellent. So we'll come back to that because there's a couple of things there that I want to explore. But I guess the best, most logical place to start is, how did you end up in the security space?
Well, is this video or just audio? Because I need to tell your listeners otherwise.
It's just audio.
Great. Well, if those who can't see me, John, you can. I have hot pink hair, taken a lot of time, money, effort, love my makeup. Everyone thinks I work in makeup or fashion. So I did marketing at uni, and that is what I thought I would be doing. At L'Oreal selling lipstick. It didn't happen. I ended up, my first role was actually at IBM as a project coordinator. And then after that, I was like, this foray into IT isn't too bad. And obviously, for your listeners who can't see, I'm also a wheelchair user. I have a physical disability. And I realized that, IT provided, this is pre-COVID, right? IT provided that flexibility that a lot of organizations and maybe I should say industries weren't able to. So I decided to stay in IT. That role was made redundant. And then my first security role, I just found it online on Seek, was at one of Australia's largest banks. And I literally was glad I just dropped into the penetration testing team and I was told to manage them.
Wow. So you are literally the real life embodiment of Jen from IT Crowd.
Pretty much. I've been told that. I've been called that many times.
Yeah.
And literally didn't know what a pen test was, didn't know what cybersecurity was, didn't know what the purpose was. So as a, project scheduler, that was I think I was a pen test scheduler. That was the title they gave me. And my role was literally to manage. So all the pen testers had their own specialty. So some would be really good at, penetration testing iOS devices. Some were more the infrastructure, but I was, organizing that, organizing the pen test, scheduling that. Once that was done, the reports are written. And the reports would be sent to the business asset owners, and they were told to fix the vulnerability. No one knew what that meant.
Wow. So
literally, no one knew.
Yeah, so that's probably been a pretty steep learning curve for you over the last umpteen years then.
Yes, it was. It definitely was. And because, the business owners, the asset owners didn't understand these vulnerabilities and what a penetration testing was, I was sent in to translate.
Yeah.
So I was sent in to explain because, you really need to explain security risk translate it into business risk because people understand, timelines, they understand budget, they understand brand reputation damage. But if you just go, your CVS score on your app, your app is 8 out of 10, that's it. No one understands it. You need to, I did a presentation last year, the year before, and it was literally, don't just hack, you need to communicate the findings.
Yeah. Look, I think that's actually a really important point and possibly something that a lot of senior leaders in our industry don't do particularly well, is to translate those security-related findings into useful business insights that the board and senior leaders within that executive leadership team can go, oh, okay, that's That's why that's important. So can you tell me a little bit more about that process and what you've learned in that journey?
In translating and talking.
Yeah.
For sure. I think first of all, use plain English, business English, layman's term. And I think, I would be honest at that I have had a lot of, challenges being in this industry, even being female, being non-technical. I was told many times, but I think because I'm not technical, it's helped me. So basically, if the pen testers tell me the findings or the vulnerability to what needs to be remediated, and I don't understand, how on earth do you expect someone in finance, marketing to understand? So I think that's really helped me. I like using analogies as well. So it's storytelling analogies like, hey, and also really putting it into perspective. So, if you are to race against another competitor to have this app launched, that's fine. Security can, like we can sign off, but you bear the risk. And the risk is tens of millions of your customers maybe have, and the reputational damage is X. And that really put it into perspective. But if you just keep harping on about the security, the jargon, no one understands. Two industries that I like to use with that's comparable is like, the aviation industry, why, there's always so many rules and processes you need to follow when you fly, even though people fly every day now, right? Every minute there's probably a flight departing, departing. And then the other industry I like is like driving, transport. Why do we have to put a seatbelt on?
Yeah.
It becomes second nature. That's what I want as well when people get an email. And I want to move away from the old rhetoric of don't click on links, because that's brutal. Right? If I send, you send me a link to join Zoom.
Yeah.
So if I follow my own teaching, I won't click it. How are we going to do this podcast, right? I think now it's more teaching people just stop and think about the intent and the purpose.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
links itself is not bad, right? But if I didn't know you, John, and I didn't speak to you before, I shouldn't click.
Yeah.
So I think it's stopping to think about the intent. And I also want, and I know it's really hard at all time for, but I always say I want my managers and executive leaders to give their employees that space to stop and think.
Yeah. And there's a couple of really important parts there that I want to try and unpack, because it seems to me that especially in the cybersecurity space, but also to some degree in the physical security space, I use cybersecurity because when the job is done well, nothing goes wrong. And so no one knows they're there and no one understands the value of what they bring to the organization. Yet and you'll correct me if I'm wrong in this, but my understanding is in most cybersecurity teams, you track the amount of attempts, phishing attempts, fraud attempts, scam attempts, and all the rest of it every month. Now, it wouldn't be hard from a security awareness point of view to translate those into potential dollar and reputational costs on the industry had they been successful. That's a very different conversation if you now front up to the board meeting at the end of each quarter and say, this month our costs for running the department have been Y, but we have saved the company X by stopping these things. Is that the case?
Absolutely. And I think, someone asked me a similar question and I said, they asked why, invest in cyber, why is security important? And I said, well, why do you take care of your health? There are people who smoke and drink and live to 70, and you can take that risk, or you can actually take care of yourself and eat well, drink well, sleep well, because generally speaking, and there's a lot of data, I'm not a health care professional, but there is a lot of data to suggest that it's much cheaper and your quality of life is generally better if you prevent, getting illnesses. And it's the exact same thing with cyber.
Yeah.
It's cheaper and probably better for you.
Yeah. And I think with your role, it's really interesting because, you can have the best software, you can have the best firewalls, you can have the best antivirus, but at the end of the day, it's almost always the social engineering side of things. It's the human that ends up being the flaw in the system, which is why I imagine, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, the timing of your coming into Medibank sort of in my mind roughly coincides with the major cyber breach that they had a year or so ago. And so obviously they've joined the dots and seen the need to have someone who's constantly there banging the drum going, hey guys, you need to be mindful of A, B, and C. Is that the case?
Yeah, so can't speak too much about the actual
Sure.
incident. I wasn't there.
Yep.
But but I always say that was BD before Daisy, and this is now AD
Yep.
after Daisy. But there is definitely a focus on it, and I'm really excited to be here to play part of it. And I think, like you said, I'm sure you've heard of people process technology. I feel like overall, the cyber industry has always focused on the technology, so they fight like the bad actors with technology. We'll protect our fortress with more tech. But
Yeah.
they kind of forget the people who use the technology or people who are within your organization. They use technology, but they're not hired to be cybersecurity professionals, right? So I used to work at the Australian government and I created this persona. I was the park ranger. Or now at Medibank, I haven't worked it out yet, but my best friend's a nurse and, nurse Nancy. They are part of your business, but they're not hired. I wouldn't want my nurse or doctor to be a cyber professional.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's quite unrealistic to put that on our employees. So I think it's really important that we train with empathy and understand that I truly believe this everyone is fishable with the right message at the right time.
Yeah. Now, security is one of those things where it's always a balance between what's achievable and what's realistic. And to come back to your earlier analogy about aviation, we always say, look, we could make every single flight 100% safe. It's just that no one wants to catch the plane naked without luggage. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So we have to find a balance somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
When it comes to security in any sort of corporation, security is one of those things where people tend to sort of roll their eyes and go, oh, God, here we go again, not this. How in your role have you found, talk me through some of the strategies that you use to keep people mindful of security and the importance of security?
Yeah, so I think go back to your very first point about, a lot of security awareness campaigns are 2 years in the year. So usually the bare minimum you do is the compliance module every 12 months.
Yep.
If your organization, might even do a redacted version if you've been there before. So that's just the 1 yearly. Then, like you said, maybe a 2-week, campaign, and that's it. I think now we're moving towards more an always on campaign. As the example I always use is, why do you think McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Apple still do advertising?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because they need to keep in front of mind. So there's so many, different beverages out there. And how there's always a new flavor of the year.
Yeah.
But, rosé used to be the drink that no one drank. And then it became really big again. But Coca-Cola still needs to sell Coke. So they still do advertise. But you change the messaging a bit.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's the same with security, awareness and culture. I think you need to keep your finger on the pulse. And I also like to change my messaging as well. So, change it up. I always say, when I do my campaigns, it's about work, play, and learn. So it's not just, what you learn at work can also be applied to your play, your learning, and at home. And I think it goes back to, what's in it for them. Because at the end of the day, it's 8 hours. It should be, right? 8 hours a day at work. I follow all these behaviors to protect work. But if you can translate that to after work, it becomes more intrinsic.
How have you found the move towards a remote workforce has impacted on security awareness within the corporation?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think it has been benefit as well. So I think, benefit of physical security. We're home now. There's, less chances of you leaving your laptop unlocked in the office or elsewhere. I think it's a lot harder to engage employees. So, especially I've gone from my previous organization with less than 400 employees to Medibank, which has 5,000. It is quite hard because there's different communication channels. This is where I like to use champions. So, find those who are influential in their own team, in their own department, and get them to help you spread the word and the message.
Yeah. Do you ever explore things like, I suppose, behavioral decision making to try and influence the outcomes, like nudge theory and things like that, to try and influence the outcomes in favor of security? So we know, as an example, best practices, we want people to change their passwords every, say, 90 days. But that can be really, really painful because people don't want to have to keep remembering new passwords. So you might say to them, okay, well, you've got a choice. You can change your password every 90 days, or you can choose a 120 character password and keep it forever. And now the reality is it's better for the organization if they have a 120 character password. So in some ways, you're using that as a carrot to get them to do what you want. Do you do a lot of that sort of experimenting?
Absolutely. My favorite quote that I've come up with is between the carrot and the stick, I always use carrot, put cream cheese on top, and let's make a carrot cake.
Yeah.
Because no one likes to be told what to do. Feed them. We all see them, but do you always follow them? I'm going to admit I don't always follow them. So I think definitely the carrot is really important. And I think it's explaining. So first of all, I never use fear tactics, but I do explain to them, hey, if anything was to happen, this is the consequence.
Yeah.
Not saying that they could cause it, but just to paint the scene. But once I paint the scene, I also like to reward good behavior. So like we said we mentioned before about phishing. Apart from, so, when I do a phishing campaign and employees click, and they feel really bad, that's okay, but I give them another action to take instead. So I said, next time, if you want to do something, because, you get this email and you want to do something with it, delete, click the link. And I said, instead of deleting, because deleting, it doesn't help anyone, it just protects you. Reporting protects us all. Press the report button.
Yeah. And
I find that quite effective because people are like, because their instinct is delete or click the link.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that there was a third option. And then there's other ways you can reward them, like, the number of the employee who's reported the most number of emails, etc. They can go into a draw to win a gift voucher.
Yeah. So it's all about, in your mind, using that positive reinforcement to try and drive the behavioral change that you want.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Are there any other examples that you can share of things that you've done within the workplace that you have found have been really useful in driving that behavioral change to get positive security outcomes?
Yeah. It's not surprising, but one of the most, popular, still spoken about in my previous organization is a webinar I did with one of our staff members. So she was, just invited her to come and talk, and she shared how her identity was stolen and her ATO account was locked, and the money was taken, how it impacted her, and how it, changed how she viewed security, and that was probably the most powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to be the impact of generative AI moving forward with things like, being able to clone voices and being able to clone people and all the rest of it, especially in an organization the size of yours where it's, potential to get a spoofed voicemail message from a senior leader saying, Daisy, I need you to authorize this payment to this account. How do we know if that's real? What do you intend to do to tackle those sorts of things?
Yeah. So, two things. One, I stole this from my friend, Rachel Toback. She's also in the industry from America. She always says, be politely paranoid.
Yep.
And I think this is quite important that, being paranoid isn't a bad thing as long as you're polite. Ask questions. Again, going back to the intent and the purpose.
Yeah.
So I did a phishing campaign once previously where the CFO sent you a monthly report, and a lot of people clicked. And when they asked, what should I have done? I said, I wanted you to stop and think.
Yeah.
The CFO is lovely, he's very approachable, but has he ever sent you the quarterly business plan?
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, like you said, voices and deepfakes. So, a lot of people talk about the organization in Hong Kong who lost 25 million due to deepfake. I think the best way, and it may sound simple, but I've been telling a lot of people, is create a safe word, a proof word, whatever it may be. So then you to verify with, the CFO, the CEO, or executive team, you can confirm that they know it. It's only a word that only you and them know, and obviously with other processes in place. But honestly, that is the best tip. And, the safe word goes for your children if you have children or elderly as well. Because there's been a lot of scams out there where, it's like, hey, mom, I've dropped my phone. And my friend who's in the industry fell for it. He didn't send any money, because at a certain point he called his daughter's friend to verify. But when you're out for a jog or whatever, you're not, again, right message, right time, it's going to get you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're getting to the point now where someone can literally call you in real time and, clone your child's voice or another work colleague's voice. And it sounds like them as you're talking to them. And as you say, without that safe word, you would have no idea that you're talking to someone who's not the person that you think you're speaking with.
That's right. Yeah, so that is probably my top tip. I'm sure there's other ways eventually, but I just think a safe word is just like MFA, another book. How now when we log into Outlook, we have our password, then we have multi-factor. I think a safe word is just another way of verifying that that person is who you want to speak to. It's unfortunate, but I think, with generative AI, it's going to, how did I describe this other day? I think it's going to be worse for us first, and then it'll be better, because then we'll be able to use Gen AI to help decipher.
Yeah, it's interesting. The old ABC adage in security, which was always, assume nothing, believe no one, check everything. It doesn't really change over time, does it?
No, I think it's how we check changes.
Yeah.
But I think the concept is definitely still the same.
Yeah. Well, look, Daisy, thank you very much for your time. It's been a fantastically insightful chat. If people want to know more about you or get in contact with you, what's the best way?
LinkedIn. Look for Daisy Wong and look for the pink hair.
Fantastic. Well, Daisy, we hope to bump into you at the Security Expo later this year at the end of August in Darling Harbour. And if you do, please make sure you stop by and have a chat.
Now, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.